Good afternoon. Today I'm going to tell you a story from my book, The Modern Alchemist. This is a true life story and its title is The Magical Power of Myna. If you observe nature, you learn precious life lessons. And when you observe the little things of your everyday life with a presence of mind, you can also find gems of understanding that can help you move forward in life with grace and ease. 2 days ago, in a lovely sunny winter day, one of those when the blue skies and the crisp morning air makes you want to breathe deeply, that clean oxygen. I was sitting at the balcony gazing at Table Mountain. While I was watching the city going about its day, suddenly a flock of mynas flew over my head. Because I live in a very high apartment, it is breathtaking when birds fly by. You feel both the vertigo and the freedom of being suspended in the air high up yourself. Mynas and I have had a long-term relationship. It started in 2012 when I had a kinesiology healing session. That healing session dislodged, in the words of the practitioner, a huge tar-like substance from my solar plexus. And it was linked to my family events when I was a child. It was at that moment that the practitioner said, I have to stop running energy through you or it just will be too much. So we stopped. And at that moment, we heard a goose honking 3 times. It seemed to just happen to fly by at the right moment. But knowing the universe like I do, I knew that there was a message. And the therapist said, let's look at my goose totem animal card. The message that was being delivered was rather huge. You have slayed your inner giant. So it was that very same week that I remember I was teaching a session of public speaking in my office at home. I don't know what made me get up to look through the window, but as I looked down at the neighbor's tree, I was surprised to see that there were thousands of mynas on it. It is a rather large tree and it was absolutely packed with them. It was as if to say, you have ignored us long enough, but today you will not longer be able to do so. At that moment, they shifted from the tree and started to fly in circles higher and higher and higher. And then they moved onto a direct line towards the large window where I was standing, because my office has literally windows for walls, as they passed right in front of my face to land on the huge penthouse terrace on the floor above mine. I had to hold my breath because it was such a furious and fast energy. Thank goodness that I had a glass window, I was thinking, in between them and I, because I really felt that they were going to smack me right on my face. Mynas are linked to languages and communication. And as you know, my business is called Stargate Communications, Communications and Languages. And I am a polyglot. What I love about languages, including the language of spiritual or vibrational energy, is to decode and recode units into meaningful strings or sentences. That's the translator in me. The guide or teacher in me is called to then teach it to others so that others can make sense of whatever universal currents are taking place at a given time. I call it practical spirituality, and I wrote 2 books about it with successive levels of difficulty, and you can find them in Amazon. The second lesson that Myna teaches us is that you need to always learn something new and continue to improve or develop yourself, as life is an ongoing learning path. The Mayan universal principle is that everything is always in perpetual motion and that change is unavoidable. So when we establish ourselves in a comfort zone, thinking that it is safe, we simply delude ourselves, because that place is the beginning of dying. It is not a happy medium. It is not a place of harmony. It is not a permanent happy place like we like to think. When we settle for what we already have and stop growing, not only we stop expanding, but we start imploding. I'm not talking about the times in life when we reach a plateau in which we need to integrate previous lessons or experiences. These are necessary spaces, like the holidays at school, so that the information settles and steps down into the corresponding receptive centers or chakras. Then comes a release of previous patterns, the mourning or sadness that accompanies letting go, the uncertainty stage of where to move to next, and finally, we break through the chrysalis and develop weather wings with which to fly a little higher. This is the cyclic process of growth, and we need these times to stop and take account of what has happened, trying to integrate the previous growth before we move on to the next. And so, I, who have a very strong eternal student archetype, which used to keep me locked in the pattern of I am not good enough, was reminded that the shift I had just experienced was marvelous, but was nevertheless one more step in my path towards empowerment. So this day, as I was watching the flock of birds from my balcony flying in perfectly synchronized patterns, I could feel the ease and flow, the effortless beauty and simplicity of the flight, an ability that is in their DNA and doesn't require thousands of hours of training. It simply is elegant and breathtaking. It was remarkable to watch. At that point, my heart skipped a bit. My whole being had a vertigo-like shifting feeling. I remember that throughout the years that I had been teaching at the school where I work part-time, a family of Mynas would fly over my car in different specific patterns to convey specific meanings. As I would drive to school in the morning, invariably I would notice one or two or a group of Mynas. Sometimes they would fly left to right, from physical to emotional, or vice versa, from right to left, meaning that something was going to change or manifest physically. And then something would take place at the school to follow up the warning or the message. I would have a tug of war with a difficult student. I would have a successful day. I would make a breakthrough. So I started to look at the Mynas flying above my car, usually while driving towards Camps Bay or on the long road towards Hout Bay, and started to get ready in the mornings for the events of the day at the school. I definitely consider myself warned or guided or protected. Those were single messages, but these not so regular flock or group messages seemed to take place at moments in my life when I underwent a huge conscious gift, an energetic transformation, a healing or a release. I used to work a lot with crows and magpies while I lived in England. Then I moved on to Raven as I did more shadow work, bringing parts of your hidden limiting patterns into consciousness. Sometimes I would work with grackle, but not that much. And now in South Africa, still with the corvid family, it is Myna, the bird which seems to talk to me more often. And all these blackbirds are messengers of the void, bringing communications from spirit. As the birds settled and disappeared from my sight, I changed my focus and felt how different my life had been from the effortless and elegant flying patterns of these birds. One of my more entrenched and gripping childhood patterns has always been to work hard for everything I have achieved. No matter how much or how long it took, I had to work hard to get it. There were no excuses for me. Even at college and university, when all the students were going to have fun at the weekends, I was always studying to get good grades. I gave myself no permission to release the grip. It took me blood, sweat, and tears to get here. And today my question was, if I had enough faith in the perfection of the universe, if I knew that we all have a role to play, that we are meant to enjoy the journey as we learn, share our gifts with others, as well as receive other gifts, why couldn't I fly elegantly, effortlessly, and magnificently like that flock of birds? That day, I was searching in the internet and saw a rapid transformation therapy free video from Marisa Peer. So I sat down for 20 minutes and I did her meditation. And the voice sent me back to when I was 11 years old. I was in a nun school, Colegio de las Hermanas del Amor Misericordioso de Sestao. Long name. And I failed my first ever history test on the 45%. My father did not take this well at all. So I was punished to do homework for that week after school without going out to play, as we used to do all those years ago. And I am not blaming my father for anything, because this Spanish generation that went through the Spanish bloody and cruel civil war and post-war with the dictator Franco didn't know any better. They educated their children in the only way they knew how, hard work, focus on survival. So Marisa, at the end of the hypnosis session, asks you to come back to reality, and you have to say something out loud. I broke into tears, sobbing so hard that my chest was shaking, which is what happens to me when I release a deeply entrenched blocking energy pattern. And my sentence was, I won't do it because I don't want to. It felt as if something shifted. The release of the pattern of struggle and hard work that says that you have to suffer to achieve anything in life. It has been a couple of weeks and I feel like a child on a seesaw, gliding in the air with a feeling of light, fun inside the stomach as you take off, going up just to fall off on the seat, on the way down, laughing as you reposition yourself and then jump up again. Glorious. Today, I feel as if I glide and float through my days. There is no struggle, only a great and intense feeling of joy and gratitude. I don't need to push myself anymore. And I don't want to either. For the first time in my life, I have given myself permission to just allow my intuition to guide me to my next activity in the day. I focus on the moment to moment to savor everything that comes to me. Feelings, emotions, memories, thoughts. I receive them and welcome them. My long list of things to do are now shorter and more defined. There are no longer tasks to accomplish, but general ideas to expand on. I wake up and I am flooded with ideas for articles and books. As I enjoy that abundance and flow, I visualize myself doing interviews and telling people stories of magic. I feel and almost touch the energy in the room where strangers sit with me, no longer being strangers, their hearts shifting into the hope of new possibilities for themselves, creating a new net or web of people coming together to create something bigger than each one of us. When the tasks are too large, I write them in the universe list, the list where I delegate everything that I'm not prepared to do myself because it is either too much hard work or simply I don't have the professional ability to do. Then I ask the universe to bring me the help that is ready for me at this stage in my life. And I move on to something else and I wait for the whispers of my soul to tell me where to focus next. I can describe the feeling of graceful ease and elegant effortlessness that I feel at that moment. Bob Proctor says in his Freedom series, people have a great deal of trouble letting go of their suffering. I was always wondering what he meant, but now I know. Thank you for listening. I will see you next time.